Hello, welcome back to City Planner Plays, where we are building the city of Verde Beach. And in the previous episode, we had some things happen. We had a number of fires occur that have really made me realize what a lack of focus we've had on our core city services. So today we're going to address our core city services and a couple of other things that we have missed, such as some of our unique faculty buildings for both of our college campuses. But before we get to all that, I want to go to something that I'm going to lovingly call Comment Corner. And in Comment Corner, I want to pull up some of your comments and respond directly to them. So the very first comment that I want to respond to is related to this particular statue. So the Lewis Lumber Company is looking back in time, or the Mr. Lewis statue is looking back in time, overlooking his old district and watching the gentrification occur. So one of the comments that came from Gray Gouter recommended that we actually rotate this around to take a look across the river at the new Lewis Lumber Company. I just love that. That is an excellent comment, and we are going to take advantage. So there we go. Rotate that around, and now he's looking forward at the future of the company, and I think that's lovely. Another comment that Greg Outer left is that an arboretum was an appropriate choice, but also thought that a botanical garden would be a great nod to the greenhouses, and I agree. And luckily, we have an opportunity here. We have burnt down half of the arboretum, and as a result of that, we're going to add a greenhouse. A little bit of a mulligan here. Then we'll go in and we'll grab a greenhouse. Or rather, botanical garden. We'll grab a botanical garden. There we go. And we're going to need to do a couple of things here. We want to make sure that the park still functions. And unfortunately, the landscaping is going to be a little bit difficult to figure out right now because of the burning that has recently occurred. But we'll get it worked out. There we go. Now let's add a fence just to finish this off and really mimic the pattern that we were making before. So what I'm going to do is get rid of the grid, move this up, follow that pattern. We'll do the exact same thing on this side. It's more or less exactly as it was. So I think this is a great addition, and I really appreciate that comment, Gray. That was excellent. So there were a number of comments about the bridge conversion, and MK brought this up in a way that I think was really valuable. So what MK brought up is that the bicycle advocacy community would be very vocally against this project because of the wooden slats. And you see this, that would be very bumpy as you're going over. And not to mention this. So even though this asset is absolutely lovely, it's not a biking bridge. And this is a biking highway, basically. So we're going to go back in time and downgrade. Or upgrade, depending on how you're looking at it. And I think that it is a bit of an upgrade. The main concern now is that we've created some of these issues with height. So I'm going to resolve those quickly. And I'm actually going to do a trick here. This is something that was I was reminded of. And that is that if you lower the terrain here and then raise it back up after the fact, the game just has an easier time of making some of those slope connections. So we're just going to bump this all down, and then we'll make this connection. And it didn't work. I didn't go low enough. So I probably have to dig a hole. And it still didn't work. And that's not going to work because of the terraforming that, or the lack of adherence to terraforming of these particular paths. So that's unfortunate, but that's okay. We can resolve it, and we will do that with a bit of a mulligan. And let's get this back. There we go. And that is significantly better. We could obviously clean this up forever, but just reasonably, it's probably as good as it gets. This node here, we could move this node, and hopefully that would change the location of that light. I'm curious. If I just add a road here, what that does, it moves the light. Now if I delete this road, it puts the light back. Okay, well that didn't do what I hoped that it would. What if I add one over here? Moves the light, Ah, there we go. Got the light to move. So that we added a node. So in terms of saving our node count, we're not helping, but it still looks a lot better. And this is just a better solution for this area, even if it's not as pretty as the Content Creator Pack assets. So very happy with that. The next comment I want to address is related to this area over here. So there was a comment from Mr. Han that said that the Froyo building right here really drives home the gentrification of the district. And this is something important that I want to talk about. So one of the things as we look at this whole district that we have to think about is, why is gentrification occurring here? Think about it. Generally, when a property owner, first of all, there are two types of gentrification. There's improved gentrification, and then there's gentrification that occurs because of a lack of available housing or something of that nature. So in this area, they have to buy the land, they have to buy the property on the land, and they've got to demolish the previous structures and then remediate any soil contamination. So all of that is a cost that they have to factor in to the profit that they need to make. And that isn't even including the building that they're going to build. But because they have to do all that work up front, the developer that is, they're going to have to build either a denser development that is at a, affordable rate, or they're going to have to build luxury because the profit margin is larger. And generally what you see is that they'll go for the luxury option because it's easier to pass. You come to the city and you say, we want all low-income apartments throughout this entire area, or we want all lower-end apartments in this area, and the whole city's going to come up in arms and say, we don't want that. But if you mix in a variety of densities and you make it all higher end, it'll generally sail through. Now, this isn't bad. This isn't good, but it's not bad either, because adding housing in general when the city has a need, which it does, means that rather than someone who could afford a luxury unit going into a middle income or a lower income unit, driving up the cost of those units, they move into these new units, which holds the cost of all the units in general. So that's why when someone will come to a public meeting and say, I don't know why we keep approving all this luxury housing. One of the reasons why you're not going to see a planner go, I completely agree with you, let's reject it because it's luxury. The reason you won't hear that is adding housing to the housing stock generally moderates the prices. So it might not be the preference, but the only way to get the affordable housing is going to be for the government to step in and buy the land. And that is also generally frowned upon. So you either get government controls, you get more density at a lower end, or you get luxury housing. And really those are the three options. And so this is what happens. We could have simulated something else. We could have said, the Lewis Shores district, I would imagine that what happens here is these homes stay, people buy them, and they deck them out. We could have simulated the bad kind of gentrification, the worst kind, which is these remain lower end units. We could have said it's a historical building. We're keeping it a level 1 or 2 building, and then had the cost just get driven up on those. So then you have lower end housing stock or inexpensive housing stock that's not improved and is still incredibly expensive. And that doesn't really benefit anybody. So I think that this is probably as good as it gets, unfortunately. So there's where we're at with that. That was maybe a little bit long-winded, but I hope that makes sense. And for the next thing, we're going to need to go through and turn on our street naming, which is something that we haven't done in a while. And I just realized we weren't playing with disasters. So maybe that's, things haven't been perfect, but they haven't been as bad as they could be. And that's probably why. We'll get that back on. We'll see what happens. So Zach Heel requested that a road is named after his mother, Tina Heel, who was an employee at the Lewis Lumber Company. She started out as a secretary and worked her way up to the VP of sales. She was a generous member of the community, giving her time at many charities, even being on the board of a few. In her later years, Tina could be found riding around town with her husband and dogs, enjoying seeing the town explode with diversity. And I love that story, and I love honoring Zach's mother. I've lost my mother myself. I think I've mentioned this before, and it's a very painful thing that you never really move past. So honoring his mother sounds splendid, and we have 2 Harris Streets. So why don't we name the street right in the middle of the new Lewis Lumber District? We will name this Tina Hill Street. There we go. So thank you so much for taking the time to tell your story and really express your reality with us. I appreciate that, and I'm happy to work things like that into the build. And I hope this is a good remembrance for her. So thank you so much. All right, fires. We've got fires. And we shouldn't look at death care. We should probably look at fires. The reason we have fires, a couple. So first of all, we've got a lot of trees here. We could have fire breaks. We're not going to go there just yet because this land is going to develop. But what we are going to do is try to resolve some of this as best we can for the time being. Knowing that this land is going to be developed, the last thing we want to do is just start indiscriminately chopping down trees. We want some of these to remain, and we will develop fire protection to serve this area. So what you'll notice is this whole area is kind of completely devoid of all fire protection. But we built this road over here. It's called Phillip Street, spelled wrong. That's how we're going to do it. There. And we are going to add fire protection right here. This is an excellent location for it. So the reason why it's so good is it's right on the edge of this collector that really reaches everywhere in the district. So it's going to serve all of these areas well. And we probably want to go beyond that and have some sort of more significant coverage, but this doesn't really fit here. I'm not going to point it towards this collector. We're not going to load onto that. Even if this doesn't have many vehicles loading, we're just not going to do that. So we're going to add this here. Our police protection here is also not good. So this will be a little public services district. And then the other thing that's not over here is any sort of health or death care. So we've got a number of things to cover, and we're going to do that. So this is a lot of loading here, but it's okay because there's nothing else over here. And just for redundancy's sake, we're going to make this connection underneath the road where it belongs. There we go. That's great. And I love that this prop just decides to pop through the building or lay across the back. That's fine. I'll allow it. I will allow it because I can't place that. So I'll leave it there. And if we decide to change our mind in the future, we can. But this is going to improve this area quite a bit. But we need more than that. We're going to need some fire watchtowers. And we're also going to potentially want to look at adding another fire helicopter depot. So I want to look and see where the closest one is. But before we do that, let's add in a watchtower. So that is going to serve most of this area, but we're going to need another one as well. And we're going to try to use land that is going to be very difficult to develop otherwise. So that's why I placed it in between this road and this train here and over here. This isn't land that will ever be developed. You'd have to add a local road. It's a very odd piece of land. So it's likely an outlot forever. And we'll deal with that as a result. So I believe we were at 33% for our fire capacity before. Now we're at high hazard before. Now we're at 27, and we can continue to improve that a bit. So at least now our entire district is covered. One area of concern is over here, and it's interesting. I'm curious as to whether or not this gate actually prevents the fire truck from coming over here. But what you can see is that even though we have this protection, it's not reaching these areas, which is really unfortunate for everyone living along the university because they are living in a pretty dangerous area. So we're going to want to add some sort of protection here. Unfortunately, we haven't platted this area yet, so there's not really a good place to work it in. So we're going to leave this for the time being, but that will be something that we want to add. We're not going to completely avoid adding the helicopter. So let's take a look at our grades. And right here, there's a nice flat area. And I think what we're going to do is add a local road and bring it back here. This is not going to be easy to develop land anyway. So let's go ahead. We'll add a local road off from our collector. And we will reserve this area for city services in the future. I think I actually want to back that up just a little bit closer to the elevation change. We'll come in at a 90. And now we have an appropriate place for our fire coverage. We're going to want to again, look at our terrain and realize that the orientation of this building should probably be a little more appropriate. So we'll change that around. And there we go. No grading needed because we respected our topography. There we go. Another Harris Street. We're going to need to have another stream, not destroy the city, and attempt to actually get this the streets named. Because that was the whole point. You know, I have had a heck of a time streaming. Whether it's natural disasters or my computer becoming its own natural disaster. It's been a thing. So I think we're going to try again. It'll probably be before this video comes out, so I don't know why I'm bothering to mention. We'll have to have some sort of temporary power connection here. This will really help out a lot. So our coverage, still at 27. When we look around, it's just certain places in our city that we have some significant concerns. This good old Institute for Conservation, which sadly is dropped to be a 4-star institution. Students, we're low. It's students. And our nature reserve that we haven't built yet is burnt down too. It's on my radar. I know I've seen a couple of questions about this. When are we going to get to this? We're going to very, very, very soon, hopefully. So that is helpful, and we've also got issues at the airport. So this is another area where, you know, maybe we want to consider adding some sort of coverage here, right there. Like, it's not totally out of place, and it won't have an impact on the airplanes at all. So with that, I think that we're in a good spot for the time being. We could be in a better spot. I want to take a look at our other city services to see where we're at. So our death care, we're good. Healthcare, that's actually really good. Childcare, we're good. Elder care, we're good. Police coverage, pretty good. I think we're at a point where at some point we're going to want to build a prison, but I think I want to approach that in its own build. And then for our education, we have capacity for university, high school, and elementary school. Libraries, you know, we probably haven't given that as much attention as it deserves, and we might at some point. One thing that we can do to improve the city, though, is look at a policy related to the libraries. So we have this book fair policy, which increases library upkeep by 100%, but it also increases the happiness and entertainment within the radius. So let's enable that throughout the entire city, and that'll help things out a bit. Okay, and this is the part of the build I'm really excited about. We have missed a couple of our campus buildings, one in particular. So when we look at our trade school campus, we'll notice that we built the police department, the police academy, and we built the School of Tourism and Travel, but we never built our School of Engineering. And as we learned back in Tutoria episode 8, these all have unique modifiers to the city. And one of the things that this could really help us with is with our water and sewage consumption. It'll also increase our generic industry income. However, we don't really have a lot of generic industry. I think that the only that we have at this point is over here in the I-10 industrial park, and it's really not even that much. So really the water and sewage consumption is our main concern. And if we look here, we're on the edge. So this is going to be a really big benefit for us. But if we look back at our campus, there's really no area for this. And if we look at our building, it is absolutely massive. In fact, it's the same size as the police academy. So we need to get creative with this. And to get creative, I think that we're going to say that the School of Engineering is going to go over here. And that might sound very unconventional to you, but we're going to make it super fun. So let's take a look at our terrain. And this is not really suitable for many things, and that's okay. We're going to figure it out with a bit of terraforming. So we're going to start out, we'll go into our terraforming menu, and we're going to grab this height right here. Let's make a spot for the School of Engineering. There we go. So I wanted this spot in particular for a couple of reasons. Number one, the terrain height is really good for it. It's favorable. And number two, we are going to have the School of Engineering as their first kind of their kickoff. They're going to sponsor a gondola across the river to get to the other side of campus. They will have a dorm over here, specifically for those engineers that apparently don't like to be next to anyone else. Maybe we'll make it engineers, architects, and planners. I don't know. We'll have to give that some thought. And even with that, it's so big, it's not going to fit just yet. And our school is not extended over there, so we're going to need to modify this district. And now we can break this off. And I want to add this here temporarily. Actually, I don't even think I need to, because I can see already. There we go. I just need to trim that corner a bit, or slide it over to right about here. And I think that my preference would be to tear into that corner a bit. There we go. So that will be where our School of Engineering is. So we need to get this road to connect up with something at this point. And I think that being able to connect back to this university area would be the most appropriate solution. So we're going to have a nice sloping path here, not look at our money. And so we'll grab this height and we'll start over here. And that is really, really tricky. I do not like that at all, what just happened. We're going to try to improve it. And some of that might need to occur after the road is built. So let's get started and just build our road. And I want to build the trickiest portions first. That's probably the trickiest spot. And now we'll connect up with our main roadway. And then because it's the School of Engineering, they're going to want gentle curves. So let's go ahead and we'll make a nice gentle connection for the engineers. There we go. Now that's a pretty good connection. We're going to need to do a bit of grading to fix this a bit. And it's engineers, so they're going to definitely want this to be absolutely perfect. And then I think that we'll leave some lumpies and bumpies right here. We can have a bit of cliffside stuff happening, and we can give it the same treatment we gave over here. And then I'm going to upgrade this road to be a road with a bike lane. And the primary purpose for that is these are students. They're going to want to be able to access this road with a bike lane, if at all possible, or by bike. Okay, so we've got a couple of issues now. We need to figure out how we're going to cross here with our gondola. So that's in our transit menu. We have the stop and the end of line. Now we're just going to do end of lines here. We'll have one start right here. And it's actually facing in the wrong direction. So that's going to be a problem. So we're going to take some liberties. And why don't we just bump this out just a bit? Look at that massive backup. That's going to be something we need to resolve soon. That is a real problem. We're just going to take a brief detour. Whoa, 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 whoa. That is a disaster. Wow. Yeah, we're going to have a transit episode soon. So that'll be a thing. So there we go. And we will landscape around this a bit, but we are going to want to then cross over here. I'm going to need another connection. So that means that we're going to need a road up here. So we're going to flatten this out a bit. And we will build our road and we will build our end of line gondola stop. So at this point, we're going to extend this over. There we go. So that will be, man, I don't like how that dips down. To me, that doesn't make a lot of sense. So let's go with attempt number 2. I wish there was a better way to keep this straight. I want to raise this up. There we go. That just looks a little bit better to me. And now we're going to try to make it a nice smooth connection down. And it's certainly going to be tricky in this area, but we can manage. So we're going to use our slope terrain tool. We'll start here. We want to come right about here and work our way up. And a bit of trickiness there, trying to figure out the exact place to start. But I think in the end, we got it. We're going to come up the side here, come up here, and then we'll get our road guideline. Hopefully, there we go. And loop it right back around. That is engineering right there. From a non-engineer. I'm not an engineer. I don't even play one on the internet. But I do know some in real life. So I've got that going for me. And there we go. And we will landscape architect this. Oh, yeah, that's good. That is good. I am pleased. So let's go ahead and get some water pipes serving this area, and then we're going to figure out how we're going to get power here. Okay, water's good now, but power is not. And this is going to be significantly more problematic. So we either have to have some sort of power connection running here. We'll have to do that, but I don't want to have lines through here. So I mentioned adding dorms. We don't really need them. So truthfully, that's a little frustrating, but we're going to add them anyway. And we've got some more. Whoa. So I thought I could get away with something there, and I can't. So what I wanted to get away with was having this dorm fit there. Clearly, that doesn't make any sense. So we're going to do something else. What we're going to do is we will flatten out an area along this road. So we'll grab this height line, and we'll get some facility put up here. See if I can get the dorm to work. There we go. And now we've given the engineers a home. So we'll keep them away from the rest of the students and let them do heathenous engineering stuff over here. Which I assume is getting their PE or something. So there we go. There we go. And we'll just smooth out some of these lumpies and bumpies over here. There we go. That feels good. A little bit more terraforming. Yeah, that's looking good. And from a power standpoint, didn't do the trick. So I am likely to add another small building over here. We'll say that this is the engineering club. And we'll need to adjust our terrain here as well. We didn't go far enough, but we can fix this. So really, the School of Engineering is also a feat of engineering. The ingenuity of the engineers. So there we go. It's a monument to themselves. Now I just want to do a bit of landscaping cleanup. I think it would be important to make this feel controlled, to demonstrate that this is a place of higher learning. It's a place that has structure and bounds, and you must respect the authority of the institution and the instruction that occurs there. And our power is connected with the exception of reaching this area. So we are going to make a connection, and it's going to be pretty ugly, but we're going to connect up to our new fire helicopter depot. And hopefully this is temporary, and I assume it will be, because we're going to develop this entire area eventually. We'll just clean up a couple of little lumpies and bumpies that got left behind and make sure that everything has the seal of approval from someone. That's someone being me, I suppose. Planner approved. All right. Looking good. Now, this is supposed to improve our water coverage, and let's look. It did. Look at that. So we've got overhead now in our sewage and water availability, and I'm very curious. We should take a look right off the bat. We'll go into our city statistics, and let's look at our taxation. And I don't know that we're going to be able to see it in any significant way here. No, the only way that we're likely going to be able to see this is to actually come into here. And so if we look at this right now, we look at industry, we have 5,452. If we turn this off, what do we go to? Doesn't seem to be dropping. Our water fell immediately. So what that means to me is that maybe it didn't. Oh, now we're dropping some. Yeah, look at that. Just plummeting. And that makes me curious. What does our office do? Oh, it's falling too. So this actually improves our office tax production. So go back in here. Got it back on. We're revving through this. Let's see if we get back up to 5,400 over here, and if we pass 2,500. So the theory was wrong for office, but it is significant for our industrial buildings. I was only looking at level 3, we don't really have any level 2 and no level 1. But that's an improvement, and we will take it. maybe not significant, but the water savings alone makes this worthwhile, even though it's almost $2,000 a week. So I am very pleased with this. I'm curious though, how does this look? I think it looks like a city tour. So I can't just leave it there. I think that I need to show you what a ride on this looks like. So why don't we pause it for a second? We will hop in a cable car and let's take a look. Look at that. What an interesting ride. This should really be straightened out. It's a little bit ugly with that line. We're going to try one more thing. So before we end this, let's get this to be totally straight. So we'll come back in here. We know that we've got to go over here. I'm going to eyeball it, and then I'm going to up. And I know that that type of pillar is what I was looking for. There we go. That's better. I could have probably gone up one more. It does dip a bit. Yeah, we'll try one more. And I went 2. There we go. That is significantly better. I like that a lot. That looks great to me. So I think that we're going to leave it here. I hope that you liked this video. If you did, hit the like button. If you are not subscribed, please consider doing so. And if you want to be notified when I release new videos, please hit that notification icon. I want to give a huge shout out to my Patreon supporters. Check out their names at the end of this video, and I will see you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.